11 boiling mud pools have opened in a rural community in Mexico in less than a week. Scientists have already answered the most viral question: this is not a new volcano. But the question that matters most for the people who live there is no longer the same one social media was asking on May 25th. It is whether the ground is still looking for another place to open. The community is El Salitre, in the municipality of Ixtlán de los Hervores, Michoacán. The first opening occurred at night on May 25th, in the patio and pig pens of a rural property. Hot water and steam shot 15 meters through a 4-meter fracture. The family was evacuated. Over the next 4 days, UNAM specialists mapped 11 mud pools, 3 inside the property, 8 on adjacent land. Temperatures close to 86 degrees Celsius. Gases at low concentrations, ammonia, carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide. By this week, activity had decreased, but the pools were still bubbling. Steam was still rising. The perimeter had not been lifted. The question is no longer what opened on May 25th. It is whether the system is finished. But here is the detail that tells the real story. On May 31st, Dr. Ruth Esther Villanueva Estrada, UNAM Institute of Geophysics, lead investigator, published a follow-up statement. It landed quietly compared to the first conclusion that ruled out a volcano. Her words: "It is not ruled out that new pools may appear in the future. This is not a prediction. It is not a warning of catastrophe. It is the senior scientific voice saying the hydrothermal system is not necessarily contained." The fear this week is no longer what happened on May 25th. It is what could happen next somewhere else, on someone else's property. The family who lived on the property has not returned. The 13 evacuated are in temporary housing. The preschool teacher has not reopened her classroom. The neighbors whose backyards contain bubbling mud are checking the ground every morning. The children are not playing where they used to. The UNAM team is back on site, mapping not just what is there, but what is moving underneath. For more than a century, the hot springs of Ixtlán de los Hervores stayed in 3 places, the tourist geysers. On May 25th, the system found a 4th. The question now is whether it has stopped looking. The most important question in El Salitre is no longer whether a volcano is being born. The question now is whether the ground is still looking for another place to open. Here is what the situation looks like on June 1st. 11 separate openings in less than a week, across 2 adjacent properties. 3 inside the patio and corrales of the original residence. 8 on the land next door. The first opened on May 25th. The last new opening was confirmed on May 29th. All 11 are still there this week. Some surfaces still reach close to 86 degrees Celsius, hot enough to cause third-degree burns in less than a second. The gases continue to vent at low concentrations: ammonia, carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide. The sulfur smell has not gone. The activity itself has decreased. The 15-meter jet is gone. What remains is something quieter: bubbling mud, low steam, occasional gas. The system has not stopped. It has just changed its volume. 3 pools, 8 pools. The system did not stop at 1. Here is why 11 is the number that matters. One vent in the ground can be classified as an isolated event. A single fracture finds a single pathway. Authorities cordon off the area. The science explains what happened. The story has a beginning and an end. That is what most people thought El Salitre was. In the first 48 hours, 11 vents opening across 2 adjacent properties over 4 days, in the same fault, with the same sulfur smell and temperature signature, is not the same story. It is not one fracture finding one pathway. It is a regional hydrothermal system reaching the surface through more than one weak point, and it kept finding new ones until it did not. The pattern matters more than any single pool. The system did not pick one spot. it found multiple spots. And the question scientists are now asking is the same one a neighbor is asking: how many weak spots does this fault actually have, and are they all already known? 1 hole is an accident. 11 holes are a system. A system can have a 12th opening. Here is what is moving underneath El Salitre. The community sits on the Ixtlán fault, a deep geological fracture that allows fluids from underground to circulate upward to the surface. The fault is not local, it is regional. It runs beneath the property where the first vent opened, beneath the property next door, beneath the road, beneath sections of the municipality, and beneath other rural communities further out. The mechanism is straightforward. Rainfall and groundwater seep downward through the fault. At depth, the water encounters hot rock heated by the geothermal gradient. It absorbs the heat. It picks up dissolved gases. Hot and pressurized, the mixture looks for the path of least resistance back to the surface. That path is a fracture. On May 25th, it found 1. Over the next 4 days, it found 10 more. The Ixtlán fault has been documented since 1906. The hot springs of Ixtlán de los Hervores reach 48 to 94 degrees Celsius. 3 natural geysers operate in the municipal center. In nearby Los Negritos, the same system has produced mud volcanoes. This is a hydrothermal field, active for more than 120 years. What changed on May 25th was not the system. It was the location where the system decided to break the surface. Here is what would tell you the system is opening somewhere new. The UNAM team has been clear that the appearance of new similar pools cannot be ruled out. That uncertainty drives the monitoring. It is also what residents are learning to read for themselves. Specialists watch for 9 things: cracks in the ground, warmer soil where the dirt feels hot under your hand, wet soil where it should be dry, steam rising from previously stable ground, bubbling sounds from the earth, sulfur smells from new locations. Ground softening or sudden subsidence, migration of existing vents, and expansion of the official perimeter, because that means the system is reaching further than the original line on the map. These are not predictions. They are the watch list things that together could indicate the hydrothermal system is opening a new vent. For the family, this is what their neighbors are checking. For the UNAM team, it is the systematic protocol. Cracks, warmer soil, sulfur in the wind. Here is why the scientific reframe does not solve the problem. UNAM has been precise. No lava, no new cone, no magma ascending. The catastrophic versions of the story do not apply at El Salitre. That reframe is the right one. It does not mean that the ground in El Salitre is safe. 86 degrees Celsius is not magma. 86 degrees Celsius is also not safe. Hot mud at that temperature scalds skin instantly. It kills livestock that step into it. It burns through standard shoes. Hydrogen sulfide at low concentrations is dangerous in confined spaces, basements, wells, low-lying corners of yards. Unstable ground can collapse under weight. A child walking across a warming patch of soil could break through into a developing vent. The risk catalog at El Salitre is not lava. It is the children who used to play there, the animals that used to graze there, the school, the gardens, the wells, the home itself which the family cannot enter. And it is still not over. UNAM has not concluded its surveillance. CENAPRED has not concluded its assessment. Civil protection has not lifted the perimeter. The number of pools today is 11. Tomorrow could be the same. It could also be different. The question is not whether El Salitre will be destroyed. UNAM has not said that. The question is whether the next opening will be under another family's home. The question is whether the system is finished moving. The most important question in El Salitre is no longer whether a volcano is being born. Scientists say it is not. The question now is whether the ground is still looking for another place to open. 11 pools, 1 fault, 1 family who cannot go home. If this story is worth telling, subscribe. We cover more of these every week.